Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Little Give. I'm excited for you to meet our guest. She's doing some incredible things. Go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what you're all about.
Well, hello, everyone. So happy to be here. Cindy, thanks for having me on your platform. My name is Monique Pearson, and I will say a multifaceted woman, starting with the CEO of Soaring Without Limits Enterprises, which I affectionately call SWOL. I'm also the founder of Professionista, my charity organization, and I'm sure as we'll discuss some of the other entities and activities that I am involved in. But thank you so much for having me, Cindy.
Oh, we're so grateful to have you here. Now, dive in deep to how'd you get started with all these cool things that you're working on?
Well, I think like a lot of people, I was actually inspired by the pandemic, just having all of that downtime and so much time to think and reflect. And what I noticed is that I wasn't fulfilled. I had a great job, good career, but it wasn't anything that lit my soul on fire. And for me, that has always been travel. So I was like, how can I take this and be able to make it into a business? So that is where Swole was born, far as being able to start crafting custom made trips to show women to be able to travel outside the world, travel outside the United States and do so boldly and without fear. And also at the same time, Professionista was started. I also believe to whom much is given, much is required. And as much as I love doing business, I also love being able to give back and help the less fortunate. And Professionista started pretty much a month before Swole. I partnered with some of my local contacts and then eventually with social services. And I was able to do clothing drive as a professional attire to provide for those who may be displaced and give them professional attire to be able to wear to work so that they can look the part and feel the part as they were getting back on their feet. So everything kicked off at the same time in 2021 as a result of me reflecting on where my life stood at that time of the pandemic. And we've been off to the races ever since.
Well, that's great that you didn't just sleep through the pandemic. You went and you built these two businesses. That's so cool. That's awesome. So, what gave you the drive to start those specific niches?
One, travel, that has always been my passion since 10 years old. I just clearly remember saying to myself that I was going to travel and see the world. And I was able to kick off that long life dream at 18 years old by signing up and joining the army. So I was stationed in Korea, I was stationed in Germany, I was deployed to Albania. And then after I got out, I was a government contractor. So I worked for a year in Kuwait. I worked for 2 years in Iraq. Then I started with the federal government and with Department of Defense. And I was blessed enough to have a job that got to live and work in Milan, Italy for 3 years. And throughout that 3 years, I traveled all throughout Eastern Europe for work as well as for pleasure. And that is when I learned the beauty and all the gifts that came with solo travel. And I was able to take those and make it into a 5-week online course that I developed, I Believe I Can Fly. And that was also the motivation for my book, Take That Trip Girl, far as all the work that I do with my clients, as far as getting them to a state of mental readiness before they can even hop on a plane. So that's pretty much how everything formulated and came together.
That is so cool that you took your military experience and then you used all of that to turn it into travel and then to turn it into a business with travel. That's so, so neat. What was your
Yeah,
favorite
I
place
just
you traveled to?
still number one so far is Bali. Nothing has topped Bali. So I went there probably like 2 years ago. And so far, that is still number one on my list so far. It's just totally awesome for those who are into just like having a place where there's zen and just natural beauty and then the food. I can't even put it into words. That's just how awesome it is. This is just an experience like you have to have. And just go check it out to be able to truly, truly appreciate how beautiful Indonesia is.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so if there's somebody out there who's watching this show right now and says, "Ooh, Bali, yeah, sounds nice for her. There's no way I could ever go there. There's no way I could ever afford it." What advice would you give to them?
I was just talking to the producer, like, I think that is the biggest myth that many people feel, is if that traveling outside of the United States is outside of their financial means. And I would like to share that that is absolutely not true. One way that we're able to do that, and how I'm able to open up the world to those, is by financial planning. One, we typically start that planning process a year out in advance, with a low down payment, pretty much around $200, to go ahead and secure the trip. And then they're allowed to make monthly payments up until that point, which puts that within your budget. And I don't think many people know that there's also ways that you can put airline flights on layaway, so to speak, and make payments on those. So I'm always of the mindset where there is a will, there is a way, and being able to help people to unlock financially means to places that they may feel is outside of their reach.
Hi, my name is Justin Clark, and I'm the president of the board of directors for Driving Single Parents, a 501c3 nonprofit serving the citizens of San Antonio and Bexar County, Texas. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the great work that our organization is doing for the citizens of San Antonio. What you're about to see is just a few photos and videos of the way that we're changing lives for single parents in and around San Antonio, Texas. Our first giveaway took place in April of 2017, just one short month after the formation of our organization. John, a Bexar County resident, was the victim of a horrible drunk driver incident. He and his daughter survived the crash, and we were so proud to give our first car to this deserving family. Fast forward to 2020, a very difficult year for nonprofits. We were able to secure 4 vehicles for single parents in need. Our organization, including our board of directors, list of partners, and portfolio of people we've been able to help in San Antonio, continues to grow, and it's all thanks to donors and local community organizations that have helped us along the way. This giveaway took place in 2021 and shows that we continue to help single parents even after the struggles brought about by COVID-19. Because of limited funds and the overwhelming need, we at Driving Single Parents are incredibly selective with the people we help. Some are victims of domestic violence. Others had a spouse pass away tragically or otherwise fell on hard times. These single parents show adversity in the face of challenge and aren't looking for a handout. We offer a hand up and help get them back in the driver's seat. Many of the single parents we help go on to graduate college, get promotions, get married, mentor others, and some have even been so touched by the gift we gave them that they have decided to join our board of directors to pay it forward and ensure the continued growth of our organization. If you would like to help our organization continue to grow and continue to help single parents in need in San Antonio, Texas, and Bexar County, Texas, we would really appreciate your support. Please visit us online at www.drivingsingleparents.org. Thank you.
Wow, that's so smart. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people don't realize that you can really start planning. So whenever you say go ahead and start planning and you do a low monthly payment, is it like you save the money yourself, or do you take care of that, or how does that work?
Pretty much what I do is I coordinate everything for you, far as your hotel, all of your excursions, your flights, and I develop that into a package. I work with a vendor that are in these respective countries to come up with a reasonable price point. And then we typically come up with a deposit, which is in order for you to hold those dates and hold the trip. And then we work out monthly payments to have that paid off within a year for you to take the trip.
Ah, very interesting. So how has it really filled up your cup to be able to help other people fulfill their dreams of travel?
I think when I've heard people come back saying that they don't believe that it's possible, one, the fear that stops them because they've never been outside of the United States. And so I think fear by paralysis, and then being able to speak with them and speak life to them and then show them what they're capable of before they can see it for themselves. And then on the other side, once they're there, they've completed the trip and they come back to me and like, Monique, oh my God, I'm so thankful, so glad that I went. Just that is payment enough for me to see the potential show to themselves that they had it in them all along. All you needed was somebody to help you and to be that cheerleader behind you until you were able to walk for yourself. So to me, that is the joy that I get. I don't think I'll never get tired of being able to see someone see more in themselves, and be able to be that cheerleader and that support for them, and then have them come back and like, oh, I want to go again, and become a lover of travel for themselves.
I can only imagine how much that fills you up to be like, wow, somebody really is enjoying what you helped you. They wouldn't be able to do it without you because you help them see a way that they can do it without having to pay for it all up front. So that's incredible. I know that some of this that we've worked on has turned into a book. Why don't you talk about how that idea came to be and a little bit about the book process?
Yeah, so the first book that I wrote, Take That Trip Girl, I realized that I had to do a lot of mindset work first before people were even able to get on the plane. Like, I really much had to ask them a lot of questions like, what are your fears? What's holding you back? What's the worst thing that you think that would happen? So that way I can see where they were, meet them where they were, and be able to develop a plan to be able to get them comfortable enough to even leave outside the country. And I noticed that I was doing this more and more frequently with each client before I can even jump to planning the trip. So I was like, okay, how can I take all of these resources that I've learned in the informal coaching that I was pretty much thrust into as part of starting this business and be able to offer that to the masses? So that is where Take That Trip Girl is forcing, helping you to take a reflective look as to why you may not have started your travel goals. What is those limitations, those stop marks that you have put in place for yourself, and to have you sit down and do that reflective work. It also has like a 3-year travel plan, places you want to go. I'm sharing travel tips as to how to help you to get there, as well as giving you vision boards. I believe, Fars, we have to see it here before we can see it out there, and make that come into fruition. So those are just some of the helpful tips that I have been using with my clients that I offered in this book to help inspire more to be able to get out and travel and see the world.
So why do you think it is that people need so much mindset work? Do you think it's like self-limiting beliefs or self-sabotage, or what are your thoughts on why people need so much mind work before they can actually get on that flight?
One, because I think people love to stay in their comfort zones. So going and staying to what you know and staying true to that has what I always feel is the number one self-imposed limitation, which is also followed by, which we already spoke to, financial restraints, where many people assume that because it's outside the United States that they can't afford it. And then since my primary clients are women, their next fear is safety. The fear of the unknown, and then pretty much seeing things on the news and that we pretty much would assume is reflective into an entire country. And what I would like to share as it pertains to the safety piece, being able to share with them that there are ways that we can build in to make you comfortable with, as feeling safe as well. One being the Safe Traveler Enrollment Program, which is being offered by the State Department, which is also totally free. And you're able to share your flight itinerary, you're able to share your hotel, you're pretty much able to give them insight to every move that you make when you're inside these foreign countries. Where that also comes into play, God forbid, if you were to lose your passport, if there were some type of riot or something where your safety is concerned, our embassy in that country will know that you're there, be able to alert you and be able to get you to safety, and two, also to be able to replace your passport if need be. So that is where I also share with my clients to make sure that they enroll in this and make sure they create an account. As I said, it's totally free, and be able to share that information to build in that extra protection layer as it pertains to your international travel as well.
Wow, that's incredible. I have not heard of that before, but that's really neat to alert them like this is where I'm going to be, this is what I'm doing. If anything happens, you know where I'm at. I love that.
Hmm.
I can see how that could give somebody peace of mind, especially like you said, there's so much bad news spread on the news that it can
Right.
really instill fear in people when they feel like, well, it's like that everywhere outside the United States and it's scary and it may not be. I mean, I've been out of the country and I've been to some beautiful beaches and places where people said it was scary and it was totally safe and
Right.
beautiful.
We can think about that here. Let's take a step back and look if we were a foreigner in all of the school shootings, unfortunately, things that we have here in certain states. So are we going to assume that the entire United States is a threat to our safety and don't want to visit because of some isolated incident? So that is what I try to have them think of it in that perspective when I'm sharing and trying to promote them going to other countries. And then plus, on top of that, you can also go to the State Department site, and they also have travel warnings and advisories in place. And they're based off of certain levels of safety criteria from 1 to 4. So if you have a heightened beyond 3 or 4 where they're advising you not to travel and because there's an escalated amount of violence or possibly danger, then I would advise them, hey, I don't advise you going here at this time, and I would send them the safety advisory. So there are ways that we can make sure that it is safe for you to travel there before you actually are there in the country and feeling uncomfortable. It's just a matter of doing the legwork, and unfortunately they don't have to do it because I'll do it for them.
That's awesome. Yeah, safety is always primary concern for anyone traveling, whether it's within the US or out. So I think that's amazing that you do all that extra. Talk a little bit more about the book. So what gave you the idea that like, hey, I could turn this into a book? And then what was your first step in starting that book?
Well, the one that I just spoke to, that pretty much I walked through, but I do have a new forthcoming book that's on my website called Soaring Without Limits, a guide to elevate your mindset and transform your life. As I said, when I started Soaring Without Limits, the travel part of the business, I found that I had to do a lot of mindset work and coaching. So in this book that is going to be coming out March 8th, I am sharing how I even had to take those principles for myself to be able to be in position to coach others. One being a young lady who has survived far sexual assault, sexual trauma, PTSD from the military, being a shy person who was not one who always wanted to hide and be in the shadows and self-esteem challenges. I'm just sharing far as my journey and some of the tools, tips, and challenges that I have been able to overcome to help others who may be still stuck in the shadows, who may still be stuck in their trauma, still stuck in their challenges, and may not see a way to be able to walk into the full potential of who they are called to be. So that book is speaking to those individuals in that lane as far as the mindset to be able to overcome that you no longer have to remain where you came from and what you suffered from, that you can truly break free from those shackles and be a healed, whole, healthy, productive individual who is able to accomplish his or her dreams and walk fully in who you're called to be. And that is what this guide is sharing with individuals.
Hi, my name is Andrew Fraley, and I believe that sometimes we all need a little bit of help. If you're in the San Antonio community and you need some legal help, call me at 210-725-4658.
Wow, what a beautiful book. What gave you the courage to be able to share in this way? I mean, I know that going through all the things you just mentioned a moment ago was definitely not easy. And you sharing that with somebody else out there who might need to hear it is a big, big step. How did you overcome your own fears and self-limiting beliefs when it came to sharing that?
Well, I would say I am a late bloomer. So I would say it wasn't until probably until 2017 when I went to Europe and started traveling throughout Eastern Europe to countries like Bulgaria, Serbia, Bosnia. And I've been traveling over 25 years at this point, but at that time I had never traveled by myself. So being a person who was well traveled and still feeling that fear as if I didn't think I was capable really struck me. And it also helped me to identify with people who are just new to that lane. But what it also did, once I was able to achieve that, it just unlocked an extra layer of confidence in my capabilities. And it made me sit back and think, like, what else would I be capable of if I were able to face my fears the same way I faced that fear? So that is what I share when I'm doing my public speaking, is as far as to mindset, is to go back and reflect on challenges where you thought that you weren't capable of doing it and where you've proven yourself wrong, and just being willing to step outside your comfort zone one time and be able to succeed. You have the capability to be able to do it again. So that is where it started for me. I would say, one, traveling to those countries by myself, and then going on to travel solo to 23 plus countries by myself. That I was like, if I'm able to do this, there's nothing that can stop me. And that pretty much was how it started, starting the business while still working full time, as well as the charity, and feeling as if I didn't know anything about business. I never ran a business before, but I was like, okay, this is something that I want to do. I'm going to learn while I do it. So each time being willing to step out a little bit further in the pool, into uncharted waters, and being able to show that I'm able to do it just gave me another boost of confidence. And that is what I would share with others, that sometimes we sell ourselves way too short because we don't see the vision or how the provision will be provided to walk after and chase after our dreams. And sometimes we just have to do it afraid, and doing it not being able to know how it may play out with us. But at least you will not leave this earth saying, I wish I would have, I should have, or I could have. Instead, reflect and go back, I remember when. So that is pretty much the model that I live by, and has been able to work me and be able to continue to progress as I have been in the past 5 years. And that's when everything has started in this latter part of life for me.
Oh, you're speaking my language right now, because that's how I ended up on this TV show, is doing it afraid. I have a fear of public speaking, but I made a commitment to myself that I was just going to start saying yes. And here I am 2 years later on the show with you. So you really can do amazing things. And throughout my journey of doing it afraid, I've met so many incredible people. And now I get to share those stories with others, what I've experienced and been through, where otherwise I would have just been home doing nothing, you know? So I really do think that doing it afraid is pivotal for us to kind of let ourselves unleash and enjoy this life that we've been given.
Yes, I highly, highly agree. And then once you do it afraid, you're not going to stay there, because you're going to start building that confidence, like, oh my God, and then start patting your own self on the back. And then you're going to be like, okay, what's next? So that's what I would challenge everyone to do, to just try one time and bet on you and see how much that's going to pay off for you.
That's so true. You start to get that little confidence, like, if I could do that, what else can I do? And then you start really opening up your mind to see all the opportunities that are available to each of us. So I'm so glad that you shared that. And I love the fact that you have written the second book to really, dive into the rawness of you and your story and what you've gone through and grown through, because it's so easy for anybody to look at you and say, wow, she's got it all figured out. And I think it's so neat to show that, you're not where you were at one time. You've really grown through the process, and that's what got you to where you're at today. So I'm glad that you were able to share that in your book.
Yeah, that's why it's like, I think a lot of people see the glory, but they don't know the backstory. So this was my opportunity to show where everything began, and as far as the steps that it took to get here. And I wanted that to be an inspiration to show that if I was able to do it, that means you're able to do it too. There's nothing special about me that you won't be able to make and unlock that next level of potential for yourself. So that is what the premise of the book is, to inspire somebody else to be able to overcome those challenges that they may have faced in their past, and not allow that to hold them hostage to unlocking their dreams.
Absolutely. Well, you're definitely inspiring. You're inspiring me right now. And I haven't read the book yet, but I will. And so thank you so much for sharing all of that. I'm going to switch off now to my two nonprofit questions that I always ask. One is, can you give the audience an example of a little thing that they can do in their community that might just be a little give on their end, but might make a big impact on the other side?
Yes, one great idea that we do as part of my outreach team in my church is we prepare outreach bags. So we take like a little drawstring bag and we put wipes in there, we put hand sanitizer in there, toothpaste, toothbrush, and we give those out to the parishioners at our church at the beginning or as well as the end. And we encourage them to keep it in their car. And when you come across someone who is displaced or homeless, to be able to bless them with just a little small care package. I think people discount how big little things are be to people who may not have less. So that's just a quick way to be able to share and make a difference on the go.
That's a great example. Can you give us an example of a time in your life where somebody did something little for you that might have just been a little give on their end, but really made an impact on you and in your life?
One, I just thought about this when you asked me how everything got started. One, being able to have someone who saw the best in me before I can see it. I had a friend pretty much 3 years prior to me starting public speaking, writing a book, who saw that in me before I could and told me that I was going to do it. And I just discounted her. I blew it off. And then another person told me. So I think sometimes before we can take a step, sometimes being able to have others build and see the potential in us and speak it to us, that has really made me sit back and think like, wow, Monique, you may be possible of doing more. If these people are seeing something in you, is there truth to that? So I know we are always quick to judge. We're always quick to have words of discouragement or to pretty much point out people's flaws. But I would like to promote and ask everyone to be just as quick to give people their flowers while they can still smell them, give a compliment, and truly be able to pour into others, because it truly, truly does go a long way.
So well said. That is so true. I like how when you said, give them the flowers while they can still smell them. Tell them the words that and the things that you love about them while they're still here to hear them. And that can really get them to, try something new or have confidence in themselves, borrow your confidence in them before they have confidence in themselves. Oh, what a great example. I love that one. Now let's talk about nonprofits. I want to talk a bit about yours first, and then we'll move on to talk about one that you want to promote today. Go ahead and give us a little example about what yours is and how it got started and why you love it so much.
Yes, so Professionista is my charity organization. So after coming back from Europe, at this time I was living in Philadelphia, and I remember years earlier I volunteered with the Dress for Success program, and I served as pretty much a professional dress coach. I had women who came in, one who were victims of sex trafficking, domestic violence, drug abuse, who have now gotten to the other side of that and were coming into the workforce. And what this organization did is that they had professional clothing for men as well as for women. And I would come in and work with these ladies, and the same thing, like they couldn't see beyond the brokenness of where they were to be able to see where they could go. So being able to pour into them, to help them polish their resumes, to be able to help them prepare by doing mock interviews with them, and then picking out professional attire for them and having them try it on, and just giving them that encouragement that you can do this and complimenting them. I just love being able to do that and be a vessel to help others come through on the other side. So when I came back here, I wanted to go back to Dress for Success and volunteer again, and found that the closest one was about 2 hours drive away from me. And I was like, okay, that's not going to be realistic. So being a woman of faith, God came to me. He's like, okay, you do it. I was like, do what? Like, how am I supposed to do this, work a job, start a business and charity? So he's like, start where you are. So I started going around to my local network of friends and professional contacts and telling them that I wanted to be able to open up a clothing closet, to be able to offer these women professional attire. Many are just starting, may not have the financial means to be able to buy professional clothing to wear to work. So then the pandemic hit, of course. So I did this clothing drive throughout the pandemic for 2 years, to the point like my garage was full of clothes. And then I was able to make a contact with social services department who just opened up a clothing closet for the community. We partnered and I was able to give them the clothing, as well as I have a network of 20 informal mentors of women in various professional backgrounds and entities who serve as informal mentors to these women as well. So that was just a lesson for me to remain consistent. And even though you may not see a way as to how to make a dream come to fruition, if you stay persistent and continue to keep with it, all things will work together for your good. And for my case, this worked out for the good of those in my community.
Oh, I think it's beautiful. And I love that, you didn't know how it was going to work out, but you figured, you know what, I'm just going to start and it'll come to me. And it's beautiful that it did. That's awesome. And, it's not just about how these women look, it's about how they feel when they get dressed in that, when they get to that interview. It really does make you feel a certain way, a little more confident, a little more put together. It can really help you do so much better in the profession. So I love what you're doing. I think that's incredible. And I love how you started. Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Oh, so thank you for having that platform to be able to share. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I know you talked a minute ago about that nonprofit that was too far away at the time. Is there that nonprofit that you want to talk about today?
Yeah, so I think we have the information for the local Dress for Success program here now that I'm here in the Maryland area, which also supports those efforts that those who are interested in supporting may be able to do so here.
Love it. And can you give us a little bit of backstory on Dress for Success, a little bit about what they do and why you're so passionate about them?
Pretty much the premise that I just spoke to, as far as that, this is where it all started for me, being able to come there, as far as that they pretty much are on a massive scale statewide. As I said, professional attire from jewelry, clothes, shoes, outerwear, and then as far as having those professional shoppers, volunteers who come in and be able to pour into these individuals, getting them prepared for the workforce, as I said, far as resume writing, interview skills, and then of course helping them to select and encourage them for proper attire. They give all of that here, and it's free of charge for those in need.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for being on today and sharing all the information that you have with us today. Why don't you tell the audience where they can find you, learn more about you, learn more about your books, and learn more about your nonprofit?
Wonderful. Thank you, Cindy. So again, feel free to reach out to me at www.IamMoniquePearson.com. You can find out more about far as my international travel. I also have a community called the Triple E Tribe for women in male dominant industries to be able to have mentorship as well as coaching to be their best selves, because that is a niche market, being a veteran and also a woman whose background is ammunition, missiles, and weapons. I am used to being in male dominated arenas for the past 30 years. So this is a community that will support those who knows what that feels like, as well as the books that I spoke to. All things are on my website, and I look forward to connecting with you all.
Fantastic. Well, if anybody out there who's watching today would like to learn more about Dress for Success that she mentioned today, please go to that website, find out more. And if you can, donate $1 or $5 multiplied by the many people we have watching this episode today can make a huge difference to Dress for Success. Thank you so much for being on, Monique, and I really appreciate you and all the time you spent with us today.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks again, Cindy, for having me.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Little Give. If you would like to learn more about how I highlight ordinary people doing extraordinary things to help others, or maybe you'd like to be a guest, or maybe you know a nonprofit that you would like to see featured on a future episode of Little Give, you can find all the information on our website at littlegive.com. If you'd like to get involved with our kindness clip segment, please do send in those videos. Send them via email to cindy@littlegive.com. Or you can tag us on any social media under Cindy Whitteman or #LittleGive. If you'd like to know more about our podcast, you can also find us on all major streaming platforms under Little Give Podcast. Please do find our Facebook group under Little Give TV show and join it. We'd love to keep you up to date with future episodes. Thank you all so much for watching, and I can't wait to highlight the next ordinary person doing extraordinary things to help others. See you next time.